Hey, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike Fellows. I am the Lee County Family and Juvenile Court Judge. You have been called here today for what we call an early warning docket. It's really an early warning truancy docket. It's to really do exactly what it says, that we are here to warn you that in fact you have come on the radar, or your child has come on the radar as having missed too many days of school. Oftentimes that comes about and once you've missed 5 days of school in any particular school year. But at any rate, you do not have an open case at this point in time with the court system, but it's an early warning to let you know that if things don't change, that could happen. As you may or may not know, until you're 18 years old or you graduate, you have to go to school. The law has been put into place so that, in fact, your kids or you as a young person can thrive in your life. That's why it's here. It's not here to hurt you. The law is here to help you in this circumstance. In fact, if you go back and do the calculations, a high school diploma, even if you don't further your education beyond that, is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Your education is probably about the best investment you are making in your future right now. So it's important. If you don't get it, it is very hard to make that up. Even getting a GED now is much harder than it used to be in the future. Grown adults who have made it almost throughout or have almost completed their education find the GED test very hard to complete and pass now. Along with that is the fact that you will carry a stigma with you forever if you don't complete your high school diploma. When you apply for a job, people will see that. And the first thing they're going to wonder is, am I dealing with a quitter? You may be able to explain why you're different than what it looks like, but someone who gets their high school diploma doesn't have to explain that. And so that's something that you don't want to have to deal with in your future. There are basically two types of court cases in this court and three altogether that deal with this particular subject. The first is dependency. Dependency is basically neglect or abuse cases. And just as we as young people need clothing and shelter and food and water, we need education. And if parents and custodians are not providing for that education, then it's deemed to be neglect. And we have to try to figure out what can we do to help this child achieve their full potential into adulthood. And that can go several ways. That can go with helping a parent to get to the place where they need to be as far as providing for their child. And if that can't be done, it can mean removing a child and placing them with another family member or relative or perhaps in foster care. That is a last resort. That is not what we want. But your children must get their education. Their future depends upon it. The second type of case is what's called a CHINS case. That's an acronym for Child in Need of Supervision. Typically these are older children who, frankly, once you get to a certain age, even if your parents aren't doing everything they should be doing to get you into school, you can do it yourself. You need to wake up in the morning, do what's necessary to get ready, get on the school bus, and get to school. That's your responsibility. And especially as you mature and as you become more of an adult, that's what's expected of you. My definition of maturity in adulthood is that someone who's mature, someone who's a man or a woman, they do the right thing even when maybe it's not what they want to do that day. That's what maturity is. Maturity has nothing to do with your age. Maturity has something to do with how responsible you are as a person. So, boys and girls, as you work toward becoming men and women, you have an obligation to do the right thing, even when maybe it's not what you want to do that day. And part of that is to go to school, to provide for your future, to think longer than just today, but to think about the long-term consequences of your actions today. And part of that is to go to school. It provides many, many opportunities for you in the future that you just won't otherwise have. Those may be financial, they may be lots of other things. But without an education, you do not have the freedom that you would otherwise have. If you don't believe me, go look in areas where you find people who haven't completed their high school education and figure out how free they really are. They're not. They're either bound to someone else being able to provide for them, or they are bound to a job that they don't enjoy and doesn't explore their full talents and abilities. You've been given certain God-given talents and abilities. Every one of you are different in that regard. But you have to have an education in order to really grow those so that you can really be a service to your community and a service to yourself and your family. So you're expected to get yourself up and get to school and to study and to listen and to learn and to go home that afternoon and review it so that you can accomplish all that you were created for, so that you can reach your full potential. And so you don't have to struggle nearly as much in life. If you don't do that, your life is going to be a struggle. It's going to be hard. It's going to be much, much harder than it needs to be. It's going to be much harder than, frankly, you want it to be. But if you do what's necessary to prepare yourself for the future, you don't have to deal with those struggles. But ultimately, it's going to be your choice. Other than cases in this court, there's one other type of case that can come up in regards to truancy and absenteeism. That is that parents can be prosecuted criminally for not getting their kids to school. And you can end up going to jail and paying large fines if you fail to get your kids into school when they need to be there. Now, part of our job as the court is to make that choice easier for you. As long as you are doing the right things and you are going down the road that leads to a successful future for yourself, we're not going to bother you. And this may be the last time you ever have to deal with us at all. But even if there's a case open for you and you begin to do the right things, we're going to fade out into the background. Because the only thing that we desire is for you to have a full and successful future and a great life, frankly. But if you don't do those things, then we're going to increasingly make it more inconvenient for you to make that choice in hopes that you'll make the right choice. Now, clearly, I would like for you to make the right choice for yourself, but if you just make the right choice because you're trying to avoid the pain of the court system, I'll settle for that in order to hopefully protect your future. So that's really kind of what this is about. Now, as we said in regards to dependency cases, when parents aren't doing what's required, some of the same rules apply for when students aren't doing what's required. What is required is that you do what you're capable of doing. And if you don't do that, then we're going to put some consequences in place. And those consequences can be anything from going to meetings with CHINS workers and supervisors to actually being removed from your home and put in a position where you don't have a choice about where to go to school. One thing I would tell you as you go forward, if you've got several days of unexcused absences on the books already, begin to take really good records of that. I would encourage you, if you get sick and you or your child has to go to the doctor, not only do you get an excuse, do you get a doctor's excuse, bring it to the school office, but you bring 2 copies. You turn in 1 copy to the office, and you get them to sign off on 1 copy for yourself that you keep in a file somewhere. So there's absolutely no question about what has occurred. I also just want to remind you that any day you miss school, whether excused or unexcused, frankly, is an opportunity that you've missed to increase your education and to better your future. Because every day that you invest in learning is an investment in your future. Be wise about how you use your time. It's your future we're talking about. Invest wisely. Now, again, as I said to start with, you do not yet have an open case with the Lee County court system. But if this is not fixed, you likely will. You need to talk to your school administrators. You need to completely understand what's going on, what's happened, how you got here, and you need to make sure that all of that is repaired and that there's no problems with that in the future. In almost every case, if the problems are resolved, you never do have a court case opened up in regards to you or your child. But if they're not, then that's a probability. And I guess in that point in time, we'll see you again. Thank you for your time. And hopefully, as I said, we don't have to see each other in person. But if we do, then we'll work through that and hopefully get you or your child back onto a successful path so that your child or you as a child can achieve everything that you were created to achieve in life. Thank you very much.